Good evening, folks. Breaking news out of Washington, D.C., where after months of balderdash coming from South Africa's government, we see the true nature of the relationship between Washington and D.C. This evening, President Trump announced that the U.S. will not be attending the G20 summit in South Africa. And I read from his Truth Social post. It is a total disgrace that the G20 will be held in South Africa. Afrikaners, people who are descended from Dutch settlers and also French and German immigrants, are being killed and slaughtered, and their land and farms are being illegally confiscated. No U.S. government official will attend as long as these human rights abuses continue. I look forward to hosting the 2026 G20 in Miami, Florida. Posted at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on November 7th, 2025. Well, this will be a major embarrassment for South Africa's government. No doubt the propaganda mill will start as soon as they are aware of this. I'm sure it's already started at News 24, the Daily Maverick, IOL, SABC, Newsroom Africa, and a host of other South African media outlets, as well as the Washington Post and New York Times, will try to spin this in a fashion and lie about the situation. The bottom line here is this is a major diplomatic smack in the face. It's a major PK, and it will be a major international embarrassment for South Africa, and rightly so. South African officials sat in the White House and lied to the President of the United States, President Ramaphosa, saying when the video of the Normandy crosses were shown, "Where is this? I've never seen this. Did they tell you where it's at, Mr. President?" To which Trump said, "It's in South Africa." Of course, Ramaphosa knows about the Normandy protest. I'm not even South African or in South Africa, and I was aware of it. He's well aware of what happened after Glenn and Vida were murdered. Rafferty were murdered there on their farm. So this is a major issue. Now, we've heard for months balderdash coming from the foreign ministry and from the trade ministry telling us that the South African government has been negotiating closely and they're close to a deal with the United States government. Now, does anybody even for a moment believe that South Africa's government is close to a deal on tariffs with Washington when this announcement comes out in November, just 2 weeks before the summit? There's no way that the U.S. is negotiating with South Africa. Why? Because I'll tell you why. Parks Tau, the trade minister, Ronald Lamola, the foreign minister, and John Steenhuisen, the agricultural minister, aren't in America. And they haven't been in America. And there's no trade representative designated to represent South Africa in Washington. Yet repeatedly we're told by senior ANC officials that all is well, that they're negotiating, that they're close to a deal with the Americans. Well, that's another lie that's exposed. Where is the trade deal? Where are the tariffs being lowered? While South Africans lose their jobs, the economy is collapsing even at even more accelerated pace than it was already falling before the tariffs. This is a disaster for South Africa. At some point, people in South Africa are going to wake up and say, wait a second, these people have been lying to us. But this is major news and a major embarrassment for South Africa. No doubt, we'll see lots of recriminations. I'm sure the EFF, if they've gotten out of bed already on a Saturday morning, are already ginning up their propaganda about how Trump is a racist and how this is nonsense and it's all lies and, this is all a legacy of apartheid. And the ETC will talk about Jan van Riebeck and, of course, Hendrik Verwoerd and all other sorts of things that have nothing to do with this. The sanctions, contrary to Professor Radebe, who published an op-ed in the Daily Maverick this week, he claimed that the tariffs, not sanctions, the tariffs are a consequence of Trump's misinformation about a white genocide. Number one, Trump didn't talk about a white genocide. You did, Professor. And number two, the tariffs have nothing to do with that. 90 countries around the world got reciprocal tariffs when Trump announced them. South Africa got the reciprocal tariffs because of 75% tariffs imposed on our poultry imports, bans on pork imports, and quotas on our automobiles. Unfair trade practices. And the irony about all this is South Africa was giving 25 years of duty-free access to the U.S. marketplace. A tremendous economic advantage over European traders coming into America. 25 years, we gave South Africa duty-free access, only to be slapped in the face with 75% tariffs, with quotas on the number of cars we can ship to South Africa, and with bans on our pork. And that's just scratching the surface of the abusive violation of World Trade Organization rules that South Africa has put in place to block us from getting the country. Meanwhile, they've allowed China to flood their marketplace, bringing inferior, poor quality goods, and even violating the law and taking advantage with Shein and Temu shipping things in, claiming that it was less than 50 Rand in value. Utter nonsense. But America's products are treated like crap by South African authorities, while we have given you the keys to the palace. So, this issue is not tied to that. But the point here is that The president isn't buying the song and dance that Ramaphosa tried to dance in the Oval Office. Also, I think Trump may be a little bit angry about how the South African media lied about that meeting. When Annika Larsen asked President Trump if he still believed that there was a white genocide in South Africa back in May, his answer was, "I'm not convinced of that." Yet South African media continue to perpetuate and resonate the white genocide myth that they have kept alive, regardless of who started it. Well, folks, major news out of South Africa. Not a single U.S. representative will be at the G20. Not a single representative. South Africa has got the presidency of this group. They're going to have to hand the baton off to an empty chair. That's embarrassing. What say you, South Africa, Mzansi? Cheers.